All right. Hi, I'm Lucy Robbins, and you're here with the Realty Therapy Corner. We meet the fourth Tuesday every month at noon Eastern time. And we were just discussing before we come online about times. But so we're happy to have you with us and hope you'll join us often and tell your friends about us. Each month, we have a different focused or special guest to help us lead a discussion about reality therapy in some part of their life or their business or their counseling service. And we're very fortunate today to have Carol Kretzmann. And I asked her to help me with her last name so I didn't destroy it. I was trying to say it very German before, and she said, I've got it really good for a Southern person. So Carol is here today to talk to us about caregiving and how reality therapy fits into that world of aging and caregiving. So Carol, I'll let you start, and if I can help you in any way, just let me know.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. I should qualify that I talk more about big picture of caregiving and aging and making sense of it. There are a couple of sessions recorded about caregiving that are more specific. And also, my practice is a private practice as a licensed clinical counselor. However, my caregiving is not part of my clinical work. It's more something that led to my going into clinical counseling. But also as a clinical counselor, I don't qualify for Medicare as a Medicare provider yet. So at some time that might change. My certification was in 2010. So Lucy was part of my training before that, and Bruce Allen in the Midwest before that. Let's see, I have 11 years of medical or mental health community centers experience in Arkansas. I relocated to California about 6 years ago. 7 of those years were with seriously mentally ill clients. And the best practices with people with schizophrenia and such is now recovery, a recovery approach, which means you try to have people become as independent and has as much freedom as they can. And sometimes I found that was before they died, but it was empowering for them to reach a level of satisfaction before that. I would also say when I was certified in 2010, my final week of training, Bob Wolberding was there. And when he learned that I was working with people with schizophrenia, people were like, that's so challenging. The next day, he had pulled up an article from Dr. Glasser where it writes that get people as active as they can, have them do something, and that works towards their, best life possible. And that was helpful.
Until you can get online.
Okay, good. Thank you.
In working with treatment with people in recovery with serious mental illness, I did have 2, sometimes 3 groups a day if I was working a substance abuse group once a week. And so I did find that I'm not part of Glasser's faculty either. So I do like people to engage. I find that when people participate, when everybody has a chance to participate, that there's a lot of creativity and growth that comes from that. So I do invite your participation. We'll have some questions, hopefully, especially considering that we all have experienced aging from birth. We are aging, correct? Caregiving might not be to elders. It could be to children as well, disabled children especially. Psychotherapy is said to be caregiving. So I'd like to present that Take Charge of Your Life by William Glasser has some comments a lot about children that he guides with, but I'd like to make a reading about that, how that also extends to aging parents. What he is talking about is that parenting is trying to get children to be have the most effective control over their own lives, right? Not internal control, not external control, but gaining internal control. Can you all hear me okay?
Perfect.
Okay. This is from chapter 14. Glasser says, I now associate mostly with people with grown children, and the greatest difficulty I see is that they still do too much to or for their children. They do these things partly because it's difficult for parents of grown children whom they love to bow gracefully out of their children's everyday lives. If they do, parents, well, let me go to the next paragraph, to keep on good terms with adult children, continue to be warm and loving, but do as little as possible for them or to them, and as much with them as you both enjoy, and respect them enough to be willing to leave them alone if this is what they want. When children reach the middle years, their 40s to 60s, things between child and parent seem to reverse. Now, with equally unsatisfactory results, the child starts to do too much to and for the parent. And then he has a couple of chapters about dynamics of that. And that's kind of new to me, that doing to and for others. So maybe somebody has experience with that concept of Glasser's. And you all might have Shiva comment.
You know, you chose just a few words, but they were perfect. Just perfect.
Or is matching real life.
And I am not a licensed practitioner. I'm just a person who reads a lot of psychology books and trying to figure out my own life. But there's something I've learned very, very recently that I feel very empowered about knowing. And that is called attachment styles.
Yeah.
And I started with this book because I'm trying to figure out my marriage.
Uh-huh.
And there's a self-test in this book where, well, first of all, there are only 3 styles of attachment.
Yeah.
There's secure, there's anxious, and there's avoidant.
Right. I think I just relate, Carol, to what you just read as well as with that. I have a daughter who is kind of teasingly saying she's going to move in and take care of me. And I'm not ready for that place, that place that Glasser just described where the roles swap and that type of thing. And she says, I'll get your medicine for you. I said, I have my medicine mailed. I've taken care of that. So it's sort of a teasing each other into this change that's occurring in our world, in our life, because of that, her reaching that middle age and starting wanting to do for me. And I just say, why don't we just go to lunch instead or something like that? But I'm still at the doing with part.
Right. So I would encourage all of you to get some literature about the different kinds of attachments and take a test. There's a test in this book.
Vicky?
And figure it out. There's two tests. The one test for yourself, to know yourself. And as far as I'm concerned, that's my job in this life, is to know myself.
Right. And you can do that with
second,
choice theory and reality therapy as well.
Yeah, I think.
Let me finish my last part. There's another test, and that is, what do you think is the attachment style of your significant other? And take and do that test.
Right. You can do that with the basic
needs. Understand the dynamics.
Yeah. Attachment theory is very congenial. It works very well with choice theory and reality therapy. Reality therapy and choice theory really explains the very basics of attachment theory. But that is a different theory than what we're talking about today.
They empower each other. It is different. But, you know, you want to stand on one leg or two legs or three legs.
Yeah. So
all we seek is stability, connection. We seek connection. That's normal.
Yeah. I'm trying to connect with Carol again.
Yes.
Connection's the primary need is what Glasser, the choice theory, believes.
Right.
How do you meet your needs? What are your quality world pictures?
Lucy, I have a comment. Carol, back to what you said, and I'm looking at Carol. It looks like she's frozen on the screen.
No, she's okay on ours.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Okay. I think what I'm finding for me, and I'm wondering if others do, is I have that adult generation for my children that I am letting go, and yet I have my parents over here where I'm having to step in. So I don't know if I call myself the sandwich generation, but I'm sandwiched into the two things you were talking about, Carol. How as an adult parent that I let go of the children, at the same time I'm being pulled in the direction of helping my parents because they're aging and they do want to be as independent as possible. So I'm walking that fine line, and I appreciate what you read out of the book, because it reminded me that I have to be very gentle with the parents, and actually very gentle with the adult children too. But it's an uncomfortable situation sometimes to be in, to know how much to do or how little to do.
Sounds difficult. Yeah. I mean, there's choices that we have for aging to think about ourselves, for others, and decide that up front. I can put some resources in the chat. I made a Google Doc that I can also share, but oh, my brother used to say, somebody said, be good to your kids. They're going to choose your nursing home. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also I think I can share this document so that for the recording, people can see these resources, even though it doesn't have the links. So this is Take Charge of Your Life that I just spoke of. And let's see if I can scroll down.
I tried to help you scroll.
Do you see that? Oh,
I'll keep scrolling.
Yeah, I can scroll. That's okay.
Yeah.
There's also, maybe I can bring this back.
Oh, and there's Robert Wubbling's name on there. He's just joined us.
Yeah, because I'm now going to talk about that book directly, but I have found that very helpful, coveted by colleagues because I found it in a used bookstore, with lots of phrasing about questions to use, not just in therapy, but for life. Reality Therapy for the 21st Century. Certainly, I think that's the most thorough book on applying choice theory. And then some other, these will, you can find the document in the chat. It's a Google Doc, so the links will be active. So let me stop that share for a second and talk about
that TED's talk that you have listed. I've seen, and that's a very good one.
And then that links to other talks about aging. So I'll talk some about this. This one, even though I'm not faculty, I found Carleen Glasser and Branty Roth's book helpful about phrasing for the same reason, role play handbook. So like I'll just share some of the benefits of that. It talks about using quality world mapping. But maybe, Vicki, I want to get back more directly to what your questions were first, because you want to think about choices in aging is what I started talking about. What kind of housing do you want? Who do you belong to? Elders have lost people they belong to. When we connect with family or clients, we build a sense of belonging. And Wendell, are you holding up the WDEP chart? That's just in your background. Like what do you want? You know, in terms of what the problem Vicky's raising, what's the quality world? What are friends doing when you're caregiving? What are family doing? What are the caregivers doing? What do you want for healthcare? Is it helping? In that document, there's a thing called Conversation Project. What matters to you? A starter guide. Maybe I can bring up that link. Share again. And this is from the Institute for Healthcare Improvement. And I haven't explored this, but I need to too. Just have to talk to family about what are my wishes for my care if I get disabled, before I'm at the end of life, for the end of life. And then that links to a toolkit, like things like that. Anyway.
Those are helpful resources.
I think that's not the actual, I think it's not the, maybe I mislabeled that. Let's see. We can move on. Yeah, Atul Gawande. Anybody read Being Mortal by Atul Gawande or familiar with Atul Gawande? He's
Put up one more minute so I can get the name.
It's in the resources list too. Atul Gawande, and he has some YouTubes, native to India or Indian American, and a physician who found that elder care was not really addressed efficiently. Things like there being a choice of either a nursing home or at home in the 90s or 80s, and someone whose mother needed care said, well, I just want a door on my room, a kitchenette, and be able to have the freedom to come and go, right? So with aging, as from the choice theory perspective, we lose some freedom and power by losing a sense of physical ability. I'm even finding this. I need more attention to healthcare and have a crew of body workers, right? It takes time to do all that. But when assisted living started, so this daughter started assisted living on the basis of wanting to get what her mother wanted, that in between of a nursing home and being at home and having family care for you. Also on that list is Louise Aronson's book called Elderhood, which talks about how she was also a physician who became a geriatrician, and talks how we haven't analyzed elderhood the way we have childhood. Childhood development is so detailed, but we haven't done that with elderhood. Even that Ashley Applewhite, I forget her name, the TED Talk that you saw, Lucy, she makes the point that we lump 65 and over, the 40 years, all in one lump of, that's the same thing, it's elder. What if we said that about 20 to 60? People would not accept that 20 to 60 is the same period of life. There's a whole range of experience and activity. So what
Carol,
else I like?
Oh, I just had a comment about that. In your caregiving, have you found that because we're living longer, that people look at aging as over 75 or 80 and no longer 65 to 75?
Not necessarily, because there's early onset dementias and such.
True.
And working on an individual basis, I don't know that I have a big enough picture for that. I moved to California into an intentional community that was founded in 1969. So a lot of the founders are still here. And it's about a population of about 250, and over half are over 60 at this point. We're working at attracting families and younger people, which is happening somewhat. But that also is why I find that I'm compelled, and I have some skills, maybe some innate talent for working with older people.
What's
and
an intentional
having that
community?
sensitivity. Intentional community?
You're founded
as a community. You see benefits of being together, that's a survival mechanism, a growth factor, even a benefit to the future of the world. It's a way for people to share and be mutually supportive, journey together.
And how did you come to choose that when you were in Arkansas and it was in California?
I'd been involved for some time, had a brother who raised his family here. And so I visited. It's also a spiritual community. So for me, it's also maybe an aging factor of seeking purpose and meaning as you approach the end of life. I had 2 siblings that passed away and found meaning through processing that. So yeah, setting priorities I find is important as you lose people who belong to you.
Yeah.
Shiva.
You're unmute.
Okay. Would you mind telling us the name of that community and where it's located?
It's Ananda.
Ananda, A-N-A-N-D-A?
Yes, at Nevada City, California, in the Sierra Nevada mountains. A lot of starting fire preparation season right now.
But that was a conscious choice at what age?
Let's see. I started counseling when I was 50.
Mm-hmm.
So I was about 62 when I decided to come here. And they did say, don't wait until you're 70, as I'm talking about residency, because then we don't want it to be a retirement center.
Uh-huh.
So,
They're putting the best skills of each person in the best place.
Wendell's saying something senior. Okay. Sending a message for asking for,
Yeah.
Shiva. Yeah.
Could you say more about what your last sentence was?
Not wanting Ananda to be a retirement center.
Yes, say more about that, please.
It's meant for community to be a vital community for everyone. A retirement center would mean you'd involve medical facilities, which we don't really want to involve that. We do have a lot of development of caring for people who need help, but it's a community for everyone. So if people who are at the later years of life get involved, and even when I was younger and was involved, I practiced my meditation independently, and people can come. We also have programs, we have workshops for lots of retreats, and a retreat center, 2 retreat centers. We have centers around the world, especially on the West Coast. We have 4 centers, and developing in India, Europe, and Italy. So people get connected without residing here.
Did you say you called it an intentional community? Is that correct? I thought that I was captivated by that word, because normally we don't have intentions. We just go with the flow.
There you go. Well, there's a federation of intentional communities that we are a part of. So I have a brother who is part of Twin Oaks in Virginia for some years. The farm in Tennessee is part of the Federation of Intentional Communities. So I did attend a workshop last year on aging gracefully as well. So one of their ideas is to use co-housing, which is intergenerational. Usually you have a choice too of when you investigate options for co-housing, how intergenerational you want it to be, but it's meant for people to complement their skills. I left one of the last book, Catherine Kingfisher, which I have not read, but which Margaret Critchlow used in this workshop, among other instructors. And she was the founder of Canadian Senior Co-Housing. That's also on that document and links to it. So new ways, I felt even before some of this stuff that us boomers would not tolerate same old kind of nursing home retirement system. So I think we're developing a lot of creative things around that. One of the things about Atul Gawande that I like, I dog-eared so many pages when I knew I was going to give this, because he talks a lot about power and freedom, the needs that choice theory says are important, giving people power, giving people freedom, as much freedom and power as you can, even when you get to the end of life. He also writes how the hospice movement started, that the medical system is taught to prolong life. And for a time, people just, even when they were terminally ill, would undergo hospitalization and expensive treatments just to try to prolong a low quality of life. And when Aetna introduced hospice support, they found that people preferred to have the support with talking and the support at home to be comfortable, to that prolonging life indefinitely at a low quality of life. So I found that interesting. How to, and along those lines is like the thought to make your exit from life positive for other people. You know, do we even think about that? Do we think about resolving regrets that we have in life, processing those, and how do we see our last days? Do we make a plan for that conscious exit?
Carol, I think that's a great question or a statement, because when I was working with the elderly in a home care, I took note. I don't want to be this way when I get older. I don't want to act this way towards someone when I get older. I want to be more like this person. And I started just kind of putting back into my brain how important it was. And this was before I knew choice theory and reality therapy, to have some dignity and to have grace and mercy as I was aging, as some of my clients were very graceful, and others were very angry. And I think it's a choice, and that power and freedom plays a big role in that.
True. I just want to hit the wall when I go. Don't want to do the Alzheimer dive, slippery slope. Just want to go, and that's it. Go to sleep one night and not wake up the next morning.
That's going with no unfinished business. That's me too. I don't know, I'd call it hitting the wall, but I want to go with no unfinished business. And I want my folks around me that love me to not have unfinished business. That's sort of what you were talking about, Carol, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Like that.
Shiva?
Carol, I don't know if you realize the importance of your having moved to California in order that you actually have choice about how you want to die. California, there's only 9 states where you can request, if you have the capability of requesting, and that's the problem, but if you have the capability of requesting, you can request in the state of California and 8 other states physician assisted suicide, or no, that's not a good idea to say suicide.
I think they rephrase that now.
Yes, it's rephrased.
Might
about choice.
Find resources about that.
Right. And there's a fabulous documentary film called Last Flight Home.
I have seen that. Yeah, that's beautiful.
You saw it? Okay.
Should I put that in the chat, or do you want to put that in the chat?
Okay, I'll do that. But it's yeah.
I think, yeah, you're talking about societal issues too. March this year, the APA, American Psychological Association, had a nice article on a new concept of aging, the monitor of psychology. So some of these resources I even got from that. What is the societal, saying that it's like one of the last stereotypes. Even the committees now on diversity, equity, and inclusion are not yet considering aging as among the peoples to develop equity with.
Carol, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
How do you see reality therapy applying to your patients? I mean, is there any limitation or strength in the system itself?
In the system of reality therapy, I think
Yes.
like looking for people's strengths, using kindness as you communicate, giving respect, considering even WDEP, what do you want? What are you doing to empower people if they can? A lot of times they aren't able to. How is that working for you? What's the plan? So even if they're in a cognitively compromised state, they still have concept of what they want, as well as fun always being important, whether it's movies, sense of humor. Even people with dementia can be in a present state and have that need for fun. What's your quality world? What are your quality world memories? If that's what you have, the long-term memories, often they're key. I watched a movie maybe for the third time with one of my clients the other day. You can't take it with you. And he doesn't talk much, but after we finished that movie, he commented, "Oh, my high school teacher made us watch that. That was a great choice." You know, I never knew that. Well, what high school did you go to?
Dr. Bob, you're muted.
Am I okay now?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. It seems to me that from my experience dealing with a few old people now and then, they like to talk about the past. And it seems to me that we ought to adjust our theory and our practice to that and not stick in the present so much, because that's what's satisfying to them. And that's what we're trying to do, it seems to me, is to work with what satisfies them. And they want to reminisce. In fact, there's a whole system called reminiscence therapy. And I suggest talk about that. Tell me about your kids. Tell me about what they were like when you were little. Tell me about the people that have died and all kinds of things that are, strictly speaking, in the past. So we have to adapt our theory and not get rigid about it. That's my point.
Right.
Yeah, whatever your successes, what are your accomplishments? That's a resilience factor to apply that.
Sure.
Well, remember that for us older folks, our past is most of our life.
Thanks, Tom.
Wait a minute. I think for everybody, our past is all of our life. At least all so far.
Well,
What are you proud of? I had a client last year. I stayed overnight. So yeah, I will qualify again too. I don't use reality. I'm not a reality therapist. I'm not a clinical therapist with my caregiving clients, but I think some of the principles are effective. I had a client through last year with Alzheimer's. I stayed overnight and got some meals for her. She was a successful attorney in her past, and she liked to talk a lot about that. One of her successes was winning a 12-year lawsuit. What are you proud of? When you have all kinds of disabilities, it's good to think of where you are successful, where your strengths are. There's the role play handbook has some things from Brad Green. Get at your quality world kind of ideas. Even I think for Vicki too, using quality world mapping, this comes from Brandy Roth. What would you like for greetings and departure? I knock on this guy's door now instead of opening it because I want him to get the exercise of getting up out of his chair and opening the door. When we part ways, I want to say something about looking forward to next time, or it was a great movie, because he doesn't have much communication, but he perks up with the communication. What kind of privacy do you need? That another reason I knock on the door, give him some privacy and get up and answer the door. Or last year's client, what would you like to help with? She wanted to take turns doing dishes sometimes. So what would you like to be informed about, for that matter? An attorney had specific ideas. You didn't tell me about that. I want to know when, this is going to happen. I want people to call me before they come over and take a walk. So to get back to Brad Green's quality world pictures, he has this P principle. Get out your own quality world. So these are things that all start with the letter P. So you can imagine if you used another letter in the alphabet, how would that expand this? Who's a person in my quality world that when I'm with meets my needs? What's a possession that I have that's need satisfying? This guy that I saw on Saturday, his DVD player is really important. It's need satisfying for him. What's something I participate in that meets my needs? What's something that brings me peace? What's a principle I practice that's need satisfying? This former attorney, keeps working on a book on integrity. She'll find all kinds of things on the web about Trump's lack of integrity and present that as an example of not practicing integrity. A passion I have that meets my needs, a peak experience that was very satisfying, need satisfying, a past experience that's in my quality world, a pet that I had or have that meets my needs. What are your goals for the future? Comment, Shiva?
It's a brilliant list, but my thought is that this kind of discussion should happen before you marry somebody. And I'm serious about
Very
it.
true, yeah.
I was thinking a lot of these.
Serious, but it's so true. It makes me laugh.
Yes, that it is funny. And what attracted me to this body of work that we call Glasser is I was sort of wandering around on the internet and I saw this quote. And the quote says, "Learning is most effective when it is fun." So, Dr. William Glasser. And that was like one of those times in life, like a fork in the road. And that's why I went down that fork and started reading books that he'd written and just reducing the 5 needs. It was, I could, that organization of we have 5 categories of needs made it so simple.
Right. I used to think it was simplistic, Shiva, when I started my practice, but I found it very helpful. The more I counseled, the more I just found it easy to bring in, and people responded to it, could understand the concepts.
Carol, I liked your
I'd like to add
your questions because it made me think these are questions that I can ask my parents or my parents could ask me. It's both ways because it's not necessarily something that they would share with me.
Mm-hmm.
Questions.
Yes, they won't. But another point that I want to just add to this conversation is that I've just learned recently that is when you access a memory, you actually change it. Even if it's a memory of 2 minutes ago, because we are in a constant process of unfolding. It seems like every morning when I wake up, I've discovered something that I figured out at night. And this meditation idea is a recognition that I am part of some bigger holiness. And I'm just a part of that.
Right. And I think that's part of the benefit maybe that I receive from giving, from caregiving or any kind of giving. You become selfless, you suspend the ego. And one of the guidances for depression is to get out of yourself and help other people.
Right.
And you just, that comes from just an experience of some kind of unity, I believe.
I think to be deliberate about what are you grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm grateful that those of you who have created this community, and it's once something is created, taking the responsibility of continuing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Glasser died a long time ago.
Yeah. This
and
is the Glasser Institute community.
Yeah, but those of you who have put in the time and effort for continuing this work and even growing it is a gift to humanity.
Yeah. Vicki, you had a comment or question, I think. Okay. Are you there?
No.
I want to give other people a chance to participate too. So we all have experiences and probably experiences caregiving too. There was one comment that maybe 1/6, I didn't verify the statistics, 1 out of 6 Americans are providing caregiving.
Mm-hmm.
I think that doesn't mean that another 6 are recipients, that there could be more than one person providing caregiving. Wendell, you're quiet today.
Well, I'm interested in learning more or a lot about the topics here, so this has been very helpful. Thanks for your whole wide variety of examples and questions and thoughts too. One of the things I think about regularly, Siva, you say, I'm not a reality therapy person, but Siva, everything you're talking about is consistent with people having choices and making choices. Choice theory is so universal. A couple quick things. It's a continuing challenge to any and everybody connected with GIFT and with WGI International to keep things afloat and to try to keep things going. And I appreciate a lot of people who are doing a whole lot at that. One important thing too is that meetings like this, I attend several of them fairly regularly, and we get new people. Like Siva, you said you ran across that quote of Glasser about learning is fun. And we'll get new people just pop in out of nowhere, first time ever. And I want to encourage people, if you've not been a regular part of things, if you would share, I put a note in the chat thing, if you would share your name and email address, that's not going to put you on any list of people trying to sell you anything. But for example, I try to maintain a list of people. I have about 200 people that every so often I send stuff out with. And I'd like to add people to it and then encourage and applaud them for joining in, you know, and then say, if you need anything else, I'm here.
Sure. Jeffrey is new, I think. Someone else is new. Jeffrey is new today. If you have any questions or comments.
Jeffrey, thank you for your information teaching in Chicago there. I saw, two things. It was a cartoon and it was a tombstone and it said, "Here lies the mind, M-I-N-D, of John Doe, who quit thinking at age 30. that always kind of hits me too. And somewhere down the line, this thing about learning and fun kind of got into my head. So I started doing a thing in training, and I would say to people, how many of you know somebody who knows it all? And everybody starts laughing and chuckling. And if it's a group of people that all work together, I say, no names, you know, you get a little humor with that. But everybody knows the name of someone who knows it all. And then I say, is this person fun to be around? And inevitably, 100%, they say, no. They say, we have fun making fun of them, but they're not fun to be around. And so it's anecdotal support for the idea of learning and fun being tied together. You know.
I didn't know Jeffrey was from Chicago. Just a reminder that next summer, our international conference will be in Chicago. So stay with us and come visit with that. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Vicki, there's another book that's on my resource list that might especially appeal to you. It's Stages of Senior Care for Planning by the founders of Home Instead Senior Care. And it pretty informative and presents a lot of choices. Maria, Barbara, anybody? Tom? Mike, I've appreciated your treatment planning book. I've gotten that, and it's helped me with treatment planning.
Thank you. This definitely has hit home with me the past few years. I think most of you know my mother recently passed away, and so you know, over the past few years, her life had kind of been defined by loss, and she lost a lot of friends that she used to communicate with. She had profound hearing loss. It seemed to shortly after an ear infection in January, it really got worse. So it was like each day I was seeing her life being defined more and more by loss, and I tried to give her as much freedom as possible, because autonomy was very important to her. But you know, what's been helpful is you know, not having any unfinished business. She died unexpectedly and so forth. But you know, just hearing everyone talk just remind me that some of the positives in that with her passing, she died gracefully and quickly and peacefully. And you know, we'll all be lucky if we get to go the way that she did.
Yeah. With him mentioning with Mike mentioning his mother, I remembered my mother never thought of herself as a senior. She would work in the Baptist church, and she would get the meals together for the seniors every week, and she did all of this kind of thing. And they had this big dinner or luncheon that she planned everything, got all the food ready for, and then they gave her the main seat as the senior, and she just really didn't even want to accept it because she didn't see herself as a senior at all. And now I've come to the realization that I'm just like her. I don't think about myself being a senior one bit. And in a few months, I'm going to be 76. I think that counts as senior. But it's hard for me to see myself as a senior even yet. I'm not ready to, that's a freedom I don't want to give up.
I agree with you, Lucy.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Here.
Okay, I'm older than you, and I don't think of myself as a senior. As a matter of fact, I haven't yet decided what I want to do when I grow up.
Yeah.
You and I agree, Robert.
Yeah.
All
As far as dying, I all this talk about how to die with dignity and so on. I don't want to die with dignity. I want my wife to put me in that chair right in front of the television set, turn it on, give me the remote, and give me a towel to wipe my jaw once in a while, and wait on me, bring me food, take care of me. And when people say, how's he doing? You say, he's doing terrible. I wish he'd die. So
I want to go kicking and screaming.
That's right. That's the way to do it.
My grandmother used to say that old was 15 years older than her, even at 93. She says she wasn't old.
Oh, what a gal. Good for her. Yeah.
You have your hand up?
Yeah. So my conception of what's old has changed considerably in the last few years. And, I've been hanging around with the Satir Global Group, and there's a whole lot of people in that group who are in their 90s. And in fact, last year I took a class that was co-taught by a woman who was 101.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Now, shortly after that, then she fell and broke her back and didn't want to go through the recovery process. And being Canadian, she had a choice she could make, which is not true in much of the United States. But so she chose to end her life then. But one of the things that I find really interesting about this discussion is my wife is 13 years older than me.
Whoa.
So I'm sort of envisioning that there's a high likelihood that that I'll have to be a caregiver. She's only 82 now, but both of us are getting less capable physically.
My dad was 20 years older than my mother, and she always thought there would be a time when she would be alone. And toward the end of their lives, she said, I believe he's going to outlive me.
That's all right. My wife was 2 months and 10 days older than me, and she died 4 years ago.
Oh, bless.
Yeah.
But Carol, I was wondering if you could put that list of P words in the chat.
That was good.
I didn't write them down as you said them, and I think they could be really helpful.
I don't have them online. Do you want me to email them to you? I might have your email. I'd have to write them out. They're also in the role play handbook by Carlene Glasser and Brandy Roth.
It's an activity that Brad Pitt did in schools, and he used the letter P because it does hit a lot of words. But I've used it, and I would say to my people to make quality world questions using the letter of their first name. So if with Lucy, the things you love, and etc. So it's an activity type of thing, and you can find it in Brad's work.
Yeah, and not to focus specifically on dying, because that's one of the stereotypes that after you're 70 or something, you're decrepit and sitting around waiting to die, right?
What?
It's like some of the new research, even though there's lower response time with age, there's increased happiness, there's increased creativity, increased focus.
I'm waiting to live.
That passion.
My mother, when my father died, my mother sat around and waited to die, and for 8 years, and that was really, really sad.
I still think of myself as being 18.
And in that yellow car you are. That's how old you are in my pictures too, in that car.
Oh my.
Oh, there's another one.
I heard a great story on television, which you can use if anybody can use it. They were interviewing this lawyer who was 75 years old, and he'd go to work every day, and somebody asked and they interviewed him, and they said, you're 75 years old, when are you going to retire? He says, well, not yet, because my father is 100 and he comes to work every day and he won't let me retire.
Well, the reason why I'm 18 is when I was 18, I was 1,000 miles away from home. My dad was paying all the bills. I was in excellent physical condition. I was on the college swimming team. I had all the girls I wanted to date. And
I bet.
So I'm still 18.
I say 16, naked and in love.
What kind of car is that, Tom?
It's an MGB.
What year?
It's a mix, but it looks like a 66.
Oh boy, it's a beauty.
Bob, he took me to the airport in it when I was out in California with all my baggage piled up in the back. We looked like we were in the movies.
I think Tom, you were at Loyola, Tom, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See people next week. And where are we meeting? St. Louis. The plane will take me there.
How many people are going to be in St. Louis? Do you know, Lucy?
Vicki will tell you.
There's about 45 that'll be at the conference. We have 6 or 8, I can't remember which, in training 3 days before. So it'll be exciting. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Tom, are you bringing your yellow car?
No, I'm not going to come this year. I may go to Chicago, but no, I can't make St. Louis this year. I got other commitments.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that. I was going to say, drive your car and you can take me a ride in it.
Shuttle from the airport.
It's a fun car, and I think it would make it, but I'd have to cross my fingers.
I know Mike's coming, and Wendell, you're coming. Siva is coming. Lucy's coming. Carol,
Bob
you're going to be there.
Is Bob coming? Bob Wilding?
No, I can't. No.
Okay.
You're so close.
Yeah. I guess I'm not too far away. I could drive it in 5 hours, but I'm not going to be able to come. But I'll be in Chicago.
Yeah,
Okay.
Chicago is the week of July 4th. The International Board, I can tell you, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, but it's Denzel, W-O-O-B-I-I. I don't know how to say his last name. He is the new executive director of the International Board. Lynn Sumida is the new, I'm not sure what they call president possibly of the board. So they've got some new things coming. I've been on the phone or Zoom meetings with them 3 or 4 times in the last month. It's going to be exciting. So they're taking over the conference for 2024, which I asked them to do because they're the international board. And we've located the place, Chicago, the Palmer House, and it's going to be a perfect location for an exciting cultural experience for anyone that is able to come from the international community.
Where in Chicago is it being held?
St. Louis, I'm sorry, Chicago, Illinois, at the Palmer House.
Palmer House, okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely stunning, beautiful, about a block from the strip. So a lot of things to do, and it'll be over the weekend, the holiday weekends. That'll be exciting. Hope to see everyone at that one too.
That's an old place.
Yeah.
I can remember we were from Chicago originally. I can remember my dad talking about the Palmer House.
If you go online and look at their pictures, their renovations, it's stunning. Just beautiful.
Yeah. Well, we moved away from there in 1945. So.
Yeah. So Lucy, would you like me to stop recording?
Just give me one more second or so. So Carol, we're coming to the end here. Any last words or comments for you?
Oh, thanks for aging with me.
Oh, I enjoyed aging with you today. It brought back lots of memories from my parents' aging as well. And that was a joy and fun. And thank you for bringing this subject to us for our consideration. And we want to remember and come the 4th Tuesday of July. I think it's the 25th, I believe. And our speaker will be Steve Hosapple from Nashville. And he's going to talk about reality therapy in his life. He's the night court judge for Nashville, and just celebrated his 50th wedding anniversary. So he may be talking as much about reality therapy in his family as he is in the court system. So
what's the date on that, Lucy? Say that again. July what?
25th, Tuesday, the 4th Tuesday.
Okay.
I think you'll enjoy Steve. He's a lovely man, and I've been lucky to have him and his wife Sue in my life for a long time. So we'll see you then.
Okay, thanks a lot, everybody.
Bye.